Well, let's dig a little bit deeper into this. Global affairs analyst Michael Bosacue joins me now live from Cape Town, South Africa. Great to see you, Michael. So first, we have to talk about the resignation of Andriy Yermak just in the last hour or so. The second most powerful man in Ukraine, we were saying, has been at the side of President Zelensky before the war broke out, even longer than that, and leading these negotiations and peace talks. Your thoughts on his removal and just how precarious a moment this is for the president?
Yeah, good to be with you, Christina. Pretty earth-shattering. Yermak should have been gone or sacked a long time ago. He's being blamed for not doing very well in terms of negotiations, but also being a micromanager. He was not liked by the media. He's certainly not liked by Ukrainian diaspora leaders. In fact, some suspect he's a little bit too close to Russia. So, and he also had the nickname in the Ukrainian media as the Grey Cardinal. He was so close to Zelensky. I am not sure where this leaves Mr. Zelensky. For sure, it leaves him much, much more isolated because, as you pointed out, he's been by his side since before the start of the war. We have U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll scheduled to return to Kyiv this weekend, and Yermak was the key interface person there. Now, a piece of good news, there's a lot of talent around to replace him, and top of mind is Oksana Makarova, the respected former Ukraine ambassador to the U.S., but not very liked by the Trump circle. Yulia Kovalyev, the former Ukrainian ambassador to Canada. Also, she was deputy chief of staff to Zelensky for a while. And maybe even Dmytro Kuleba, the former foreign affairs minister, very widely respected.
Yeah, but I mean, Yermak was leading that push to carefully woo the United States on this new revised 19-point plan. But to have the word scandal, corruption, a reboot of the office of the president of Ukraine, which is what Zelensky has just come out and said this is going to be, happening at a time when Witkoff is due to meet President Putin, surely this is going to damage their position in some way.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it. The Russians couldn't have scripted this any better to their liking because it puts Ukraine in a very, very difficult position amid all of the donor fatigue that we already had, right? So the timing is horrible. And the other thing, Christina, is we're not really sure how Zelensky is going to operate solo for a while. He said he might take a few days to find a replacement, but he is really untested as a solo president, that dependent on Yermak for leading everything from diplomatic negotiations, key appointments, you name it. But look, at the end of the day, people have to understand, including the current occupant of the White House, that if Mr. Putin is not pushed back, this war will go further. They are already involved in a very aggressive hybrid warfare from off coastal UK waters to in various parts of Europe. So we're hoping that everyone, I think, hopes that they can, for the time being, put this aside. But the Zelensky government has to recommit themselves to these corruption investigations. And one final point here is, ironically, it was Yermak and Zelensky who tried to decapitate the very two corruption investigation bodies that raided Yermak's house.
It's a good point. And look, this could not come at a more crucial week. The stakes could not be higher for this meeting between Witkoff and Putin in Moscow. And yet, even before this announcement of Yermak, there was very little hope that this meeting would result in any change for Ukraine, right? Because as we heard from Vladimir Putin yesterday, Moscow's maximalist demands are still intact and, have certainly not been met in their mind. So what are your expectations for that meeting this week?
Well, I think it will be a replay of what we've seen in the past. Witkoff goes to Moscow, sits with Putin, and he comes out singing Putin's tunes. And, we see a lot of dysfunctionality, I think, in the Trump team's approach to dealing with this so-called peace plan. I think you have different priorities, different interests within the Trump team itself, for example, between J.D. Vance and Mr. Trump as well. I think a lot of Ukrainians deservedly are skeptical of U.S. intentions, that they're going to give too much away to the U.S. They are still very, very traumatized from what happened with that Budapest memorandum, where Ukraine gave up its nuclear arsenal for security guarantees from the US, UK, and others. Look what happened to that. So that's going to be key in anything that appears before the Ukrainian president, is what are their security guarantees. And just quickly, Christina, a bit of one of the points that the Russians reportedly are raising is to be readmitted back into the G7 bloc of wealthy nations, which of course would make it the G8. They were booted out when they invaded Crimea. But you know, I recently talked to a senior South African government minister here at the G20, and I asked him, so should Russia be admitted back in? He goes, yeah, of course, because it's better to have them in the room than outside. And I think they're not thinking in isolation. That's kind of the current mood right now, is, oh, maybe things will work out better if we have the Russians here. And one other thing that's very, very upsetting to the Ukrainians, the Russians are insisting on amnesty from all war crimes, well over 1,000 documented war crimes. So, yeah, they're going for their maximalist position.
Yeah, that certainly was a surprise and shocking aspect of the 28-point plan, for sure. Michael, we will wait to see what happens. Appreciate your analysis, though, as always.